Hello and welcome to day number 2 of the 5-day bar chord challenge. Man, we covered so much content yesterday. If you're struggling to play bar chords or wanting to learn more or play them more easily, 100% you're in the right place. We're going to learn a new shape of bar chord today and build on from yesterday's lesson. If you missed yesterday's lesson, please do yourself a favor and go back and check it out if you, again, are struggling with bar chords, because I covered heaps of troubleshooting, all the mistakes that people make when they start, and any one of those things I covered can completely change the journey as a guitarist learning to play bar chords. Also, if you're a beginner guitarist and just completely struggling to play bar chords, please do my 7-day beginners guitar challenge. The link is in the description below, and that'll teach you all the easiest ways to play this instrument so you can do everything the easy way. Okay, so to just quickly recap on yesterday's lesson, we spoke about the 5 mistakes that people often make. Number 1 was holding the guitar the correct way, okay? So make sure you're not tilting that guitar back too far. I know it's nice to be able to see the guitar like that, but it makes it very hard to play. Same tilting it back this way. Same if you're tilting the guitar to the floor, that's a big problem. So make sure we're holding the guitar the right way. Also making sure we've got a really good technique. So making sure you've got really good right hand and really good left hand technique. Yesterday we also spoke about having our left hand in that correct position there, okay? So fingers right up to the frets with the bar, okay? So right up behind the fret there, not on this sort of an angle or that sort of an angle, but trying to keep it right up behind the fret there, okay? Same with the other fingers that we built there. Checking that our thumb ideally is around the center of the back of the neck in the shape, so that bone sitting around the middle of the neck and in the center of the shape. Now, of course, depending on the size of your hand, you know, some people might have their thumbs up or down a bit more, but generally speaking, for the majority of people, having our thumb in the center of that shape is really important, okay? So fingers right up to the frets like that. Making sure our chord sounds really nice and clean. The last of those tips we spoke about in day 1 was understanding how the chords are built and where they come from, right? We learned about this E-shaped chord, which you know, of course, the open E chord, and we learned how that E-shaped bar chord was built by simply changing those fingers around and then moving the index finger up from the nut up to the first fret position there. And we were able to change that bar chord through all the different root notes, okay? And we learned how that chord gets its name and all of those things. So for starters, I just want to do a quick refresh on that E-shaped bar chord today. Make sure you've got it right. Make sure your chord's sounding good. How is your chord sounding? Is it sounding a bit sick? Maybe. Hopefully you can hear each of the 6 strings. Probably not just yet if you've just started. It's going to take a little bit of time, but let's see how we go. So again, we're going to build that E-shaped bar chord from yesterday. I'm here on the 5th fret with my first finger. So let's get our index finger all the way across the 6 strings just there. Great job. And then we're going to build that E-shaped chord. So now the 2nd finger is up there on the 6th fret, on the G string, and the 3rd and the 4th finger are going to sneak right up there on that 7th fret there. And with our right hand, we're going to play all 6 strings and try and get a really nice clean sound out of that chord. Okay, now my first finger is just behind that fret there. It's really clamped down there. For me, that's the sweet spot to do the least amount of work. Some people play further back, but man, it's so much more work to push down there and get that pressure on the index finger. I can't even do it there, but here, right behind the fret, okay, you want to just sort of be able to see the little bit of silver like you can of that fret there. Beautiful. So let's hear your chord. Now, is there any buzzers coming out there? You're probably going to find that up around that string right about there is probably going to be buzzing. You might even find that you've got a buzz on this string here. Just watch that. It's going to take some time to get the angle up nice and high on those frets, okay? But just keep working on it. Ideally, we want to get those fingers up sort of nice and high so it's got that clearance underneath. You can just see under there that that string has just got that clearance behind that pinky where it rings out nice and cleanly. Again, that takes some time. Just give your hand a bit of a shake if you're feeling any discomfort there. Don't do this for too long, you know, only a few minutes at a time at first, but your hands will quickly strengthen over a few weeks. Okay, great. So let's hear it. Good job. If you've got 3 or 4 strings ringing out in these early days, honestly, you're doing a pretty good job, okay? Most students take about 4 to 6 weeks before they start getting their bar chords to sound kind of sweet. And often it's like, 3 to 4 months. So just do the best you can, okay? You're on the right track though. Good job. Okay, so again, yesterday we learned about these E-shaped bar chords. Today we're going to learn about the A-shaped bar chord. So I'm hoping that you can play an A chord. You can see the picture of the A chord there, and you can see the difference between the way my fingers are shaped and the picture in that image is that my fingers are angled not straight like in the picture, but angled across. So make sure with that A chord you're comfortable in that position. and getting all of those 5 strings to ring out cleanly. Again, if you're struggling with any of these open chords, please sign up for my 7-day guitar challenge because that'll fix all that right up. So the principle for the bar chord we're going to learn today is identical to what we learned yesterday with the E chord and the E chord moving up, but now it's going to be with the A chord, and this is why they're called an A-shape bar chord. The principle is the same as what I said yesterday. What we're going to do is we're going to swap all the fingers around here like this, and then put our first finger on that nut and move it all up 1 fret, just like this. Now that's one of the hardest places to play this A-shaped bar chord. You can see it's an A shape because I've got that same shape we had from that A chord back there, but now I've built it up here, right? So what I'm going to do, because that's quite a hard place to play it, in fact that's the hardest place to play it, on the first fret you have to push down really hard, and it's a really big stretch because the frets are the biggest spread out of the entire neck. What I'm going to do, the same thing we did yesterday, we're going to actually take that up to the 5th fret and we're going to build it there. So I'm going to invite you to put your first finger flat across the 5 strings. The difference between that E shape and the A chord, of course, is how many strings. It's only 5 strings, right? There's no low E string with that A-shaped chord. So just the same, when we're building that bar chord, I want you now to only put your first finger across 5 strings instead of the E shape we did yesterday, where it was 6 strings. The A shape, we're only going to do 5 strings. That's the first main difference. Keep that flat. Now this is a bit trickier again. Make sure that thumb is in the center of the shape, back of the neck. Now we're going to put that second finger up there on the 7th fret there. Do your best to get that big stretch, and then the 3rd finger is going to sneak in there, and then the 4th finger is sneaking in right there. So with that position, at first most people find this more difficult than the E shape, okay, but the A shape, we're just going to do our best to see if we can get all of those 5 strings ringing out. Now you might have your index finger back this way and your fingers like that to start with. Most people do. Watch that. We really want to bring those knuckles around a little bit. You can see my knuckles there on that kind of angle like that. That's not great, okay? We really want to try to bring that around and get those knuckles a little bit straighter. Again, everyone's different, but this is the way that the majority of people play them, okay? The thumb, again, in the center of the back of the neck, not up too high. The higher the thumb is, the harder that's going to be. Make sure you're holding the guitar just the right way. All these little things add up. So let's try it again now. First finger flat across that 5th fret. Then we're going to put our second finger, big stretch there, up to the 7th fret, just over the fret there. 3rd finger there, right up there on that 7th fret. And that pinky, we've got to really squish them right in there, okay? So we're doing our best. There is a kind of a cheats way to play it like this. Not necessarily a cheats way, but a different way to play it. But we're going to start by having all of those 3 fingers in a row just there and get that nice clean sound. That allows us to really get that, each one of those 5 strings ringing out nice and cleanly, okay? So let's hear that chord. Now that's going to take a little bit of time to settle down. What I would also invite you to do is to try that down around the 3rd fret. So if you move that down now, first finger down to the 3rd fret, first finger flat across those 5 strings, second finger up there, 3rd finger here and 4th finger here. It's the exact same shape there. Now I'm just doing that on the 3rd fret. Just like we learned yesterday with those E-shaped bar chords, the bass note of the chord gives it its name. So if we're playing the A chord here, the bass note is that open A string. Now with our left hand, if we move that up 1, this chord here would be an A sharp, or more commonly known as a B flat chord, okay? If you don't know the names of the frets, please again check out my 7-day guitar challenge. Up here is the B. It's really important to know the names of the frets, right? The C. And then this one would have a C sharp or a D flat. Again, just there, here on the 5th fret there. Of course, that note's a D, so that's a D chord. Different way to play a D. You can hear it kind of sounds the same. D sharp and up to an E. So you got all those shapes there, and we can keep going. It gets a bit harder to squish the fingers in from about the 7th fret onwards. Often I'll play it by flattening my 3rd finger like that, but for now let's just try getting used to that shape. So for day 2 today, we're trying to learn this new shape, okay? And you can see it in the picture there nice and clearly. And that's all I want you to work on, is just have some fun going from that shape and trying to get used to it, and then going back to that other shape that we learned yesterday. Again, if you have any troubles with this, please go and check out day 1, because I went into a lot more detail with that. Tomorrow, we're going to start looking at all the different principles to change these chords. And in days 4 and 5, we're going to learn a whole lot of different variations on those shapes and get more chord voicings up your sleeve. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, today's challenge is to try and play that A shape bar chord. I'll see you in day 3.